Hey, how you doing, my friends? I'm glad you joined me again. I see one of my friends, Angel, happens to be on the webinar. So chatting to me, Angel, how are you doing today? Are you doing okay? And how is your PMP exam prep coming along? You know, the purpose of this meeting, Angel, is to really run through why folks should be on the tech camp. So if you haven't heard about the PMP exam tech camp, I'm going to be speaking to you about that. Okay, so let me share with you the Excel file that I shared in the last meeting. The last meeting, we talked about integration, and we had a few friends of ours on the call that I was not able to speak to then, but I hope they're here now, just like you are. We talked about integration, and I broke down for you how integration is so significant, why it is 25% of the PMP exam, and the importance of it. So in this next session, I'm going to be running through resource management and the importance of it. Okay. Oh, you did a paper-based exam, Angel. Oh, well, really hoping for the best. Wow. Wow. Well, the other students who have done paper-based exams on my watch, Angel, the good news is they both passed the exam. One out of Africa in West Africa, and the other one in the islands. They both passed the exam. If that helps calm your anxiety. But I really look forward to hearing your results, and I'm sure you smashed it. I'm really looking forward to getting those. Okay. Well, you're welcome to just sit back and relax and watch, because you ain't gonna need this. You're already a PMP, right? I'm saying that in faith of your great work on the exam, you know. How did you find it though? Just tell me in a few words how you found it. Was it what you expected? Was it easier than you thought? Some students say, wow, this is too good to be true. Am I really doing this well? And they surprise themselves, like really killing it, you know. So tell me, how did you find it? Let's see, some of our other friends on YouTube. I am curious to know where they are in their prep. But let me know. Let me see. I think I've got one person who has been able to join so far. One. Okay. So it was a lot. It was okay. You saw a lot of familiar stuff. Okay. Okay. Yeah, those are to be expected, you know. Since integration is a significant part of the exam, anything from integration, you can be sure that it is going to be significant on the exam. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for joining. So today I'm going to be speaking to the folks on the call about the significance of resource management. You know, it is a very significant area as well. Um, Unbeknownst to some test takers, it's significant. But let's examine why resource management is so significant. So this is what we're going to be doing on Tuesday. Monday next week is going to be integration, and a little bit of Tuesday will be integration, and then we'll be able to get into resources. And then when we get into resources, you'll examine nothing in initiating, but in planning, you've got two. So we're going to give these 2 marks, or 2%, if you will. But just to give you a very clear idea of how this will all pan out, we're going to have one from plan resource management and one from estimate activity resources. And then from executing, remember, you have 3 processes in resource management. So 3 processes in resource management within executing. So we've got one here, which will be 3.1%. another one which will be 3.1% of the exam, and the last one. So which ones are these? Just to give you a quick guideline, this is going to be acquire resources, this is going to be develop team, and this will be manage team. Okay, so this is going to be 3.1 times 3. You see how significant resource management is? It is very significant. Now, like I did on the last call, I'm going to break down for you the relevance of resource management. So if we take this and put it together with our other sheet here, let's just put that here. Get rid of this. All right. So if we put that there, let's replace what we have with actual names so that we put a face to the name. All right. So planned resource management. This is where the exam gets very tricky for some people, because some people could put all their eggs in the wrong basket, you know, and then some people put their eggs in the right baskets, but there's still a tiny little bit that they forgot. They put 4 eggs in instead of 5, and the one that PMI decides to test them on is the one they didn't put into the basket. So I'm talking about planned resource management because it's a very, very big area in and of itself. A lot of people don't realize how big planned resource management is. And for 1%, it's a lot of work. You see, you gotta work for your PMP exam scores. Seriously, think about it. If 1% of the exam is from this process, planned resource management, think about it. 1% of 200. Think about it. 2 questions, 3 questions. That's why a lot of people tell me, Phil, I wasted my time reading Maslow's, McGregor's, Herzberg, Vroom, McClelland, and so on and so forth. Because if really we're getting 24% of the PMP exam from planning, and you split it across evenly, let's say every process is accounted for, realistically speaking, planned resource management could be 2 questions. And if none of those 2 questions falls into McClelland and McGregor that you spent 2 hours on, you see, if it falls into the RACI chart, you're doomed. If you didn't know the common error in the RACI chart, which I'll be speaking about next week, you're doomed. If you don't know what makes a RACI chart incorrect, or you don't understand the intricacies of the OBS mapped against the WBS and how that ended up getting you the RAM, they could come from anywhere. That's why I tell people you cannot afford to leave any stone unturned. No stone. Yeah, if it's going to take you 20 hours to read this one process, you're going to have to do it. Because if the pieces you didn't read show up, then you're going to flunk it. That's why the PMP exam takes so much time to get ready for. You cannot cherry pick. You can't say, oh, I'm going to read Vroom and I'm not going to read McClelland, or I'm going to look at McGregor and then I'm not going to touch up the OBS. Oh, I'm not even going to be aware of any such thing called a team management plan. Forget that. Or team charter. Nah, I'm not going to read that. You see, there's so many things that you need to know, and well, so many things you need to know, and so many things you need to know well. That's why the PMP exam could take upwards of 200-300 hours for a student to prepare for. So take plan resource management, which we're talking about now, as an example. It's big. It's really, really big. If you were going to expand upon all of the different parts that come from here, first of all, understanding the resource management plan really, really well, understanding what is in it, like the RACI chart, like the text-based descriptions of who is doing what, like the resource breakdown structure. You could take some time unraveling what they're saying about this. And don't even talk about organizational theory and all the other tools and techniques in this one process. This is why you need to be at Tech Camp. Let's do some of the heavy lifting for you. All right. So that's one. That is just one process. And we haven't even talked much about the team charter with the ground rules and all the other bits and pieces in it. Now, let's go to our next one. Estimate activity resources. It's another one that's worthy of consideration because from here, you get your resource requirements. From here, you're also going to get your BOEs. You're also going to get your resource calendars. So there's a lot of stuff that you need to be thinking about, or should I say you also need to consider at this point resource calendars as they are available. Because remember, your resource calendars are not just from acquiring the resources. You also need to look at what you need from procurement. So by the time you bake it all in, there's a lot of stuff that you need to consider as you're estimating your activity resources. If there are deadlines, you're going to have to go back and forth between schedule management and resource management to get your estimates for everything to make sense. So that's the relevance of those. These ones, I often call them the terrific three or the terrible three, depends on how much work you've done on these, because you've got acquire resources, right? Develop team, manage team. 9.3% of your exam. Big. I can't even begin to go into the importance of acquiring resources, human, equipment, materials, supplies, facilities, your physical resource assignments, your project team assignments, and all the other bits and pieces that are in this, the resource calendars that come from here, and so on. And how these go back and forth between different knowledge areas. We're going to be unraveling that as well next week. You know, I often show people data flow for every knowledge area and just show how the different pieces come together. You see, so next week, we're going to continue in that vein. We're going to explore the data flows. We're going to get into the details of the processes, and we're going to go into those bullets that everyone skips over for the most part. You know what I'm talking about. So that's 5 from resource management. And the last one here is control resources. Of course, here we're talking about the non-humans, the physical resources, but it's also very important to focus on what exactly we're doing in this process. You see, one of the reasons, I'll just tell you straight up why certain people fail the exam, it's because they did not read the detail about the processes. Yeah, they crammed all the ITTOs, but did you really know the process? Did you really know each of the 49 processes? Can you explain them in an organic fashion? Or are you limited to just what you've got in the PMBOK guide? And once the PMBOK guide is taken away, you really cannot explain the process. Don't use your PMBOK guide as a crutch. Use it to test yourself. So if you cannot adequately explain what the PMBOK guide is saying in your own words, it's a red light. It's a red light. It shows you don't do it. And next week, I'm going to be showing you how to effectively read in between the lines. You know, the PMBOK guide has many lines of text, but I'm going to be showing you how to read in between the lines. That's why, my friends, you want to be in the tech camp, especially those who have been finding it very, very hard. Some folks have been finding it so hard to move the volume, but I'll show you what to do. All right. So that's resources. Okay. Let's go back to our little map here. So it's all adding up. That was 25 from integration. And this right here now is what? Let's add it all up. Oh, we need to add one more. So this is going to be 2.1 for control resources. Boom, 13.4%. Wow. So if this is our running total here, we are already on 38%, and we have not even touched 3 more that we've got. Can you see how this stuff is all stacking up? 38%, like 38.4%. That is getting big. That is getting really, really big. For just 2 knowledge areas. Did I say processes? I meant to say knowledge areas. Knowledge areas. All right. So let's take a look at our next knowledge area. Okay, these are our totals. For those of you who are just joining, I'm showing you the logic in coming for the tech camp, and I'm also showing you the importance of next week's tech camp. You see, I deliberately split the tech camps into 2. So some folks attended the first one that was purely that technical stuff that is numbers, scope. Even though there are no numbers, it anchors back into earned value management, rolling wave planning, anchors back into the schedule. So you can include scope as one of those areas that could be quite technical. And by the time you get into all the naming conventions of work packages, planning packages, control accounts, root node, all that stuff, you know, so that's why I put that in the first set of things we need to talk about. Schedule needs no introduction, critical path, and all that stuff. See, also important. Forward pass, backward pass. Gets crazy technical there. Cost, need I say the earned value nightmare many people are trying to wrestle with. Risk, EMV, and the numerous processes in risk, and quality, all right? But for next week, you see, next week is different because the processes for next week outweigh the processes that I just showed you. It will amaze you. But if you take a look at these, scope, schedule, cost, risk, quality, these are not as weighty on the exam compared to this mix of integration, resources, communications, procurement, and stakeholder. Integration on its own is a beast of 25%, a quarter of your exam. Now you add in resources, which is 13.4%, huge as well. Now let's look into communications. Communications, along with resources, could further complicate things for people who have not studied it, but for people that have, this is a free meal ticket to really killing the executing process group. So when you break communications down, you got planned communications management, let's put 1% there. You got managed communications, let's put 3.1. And you've got monitor communications, let's put 2.1. And let's sum it all up. 6.2% to be conservative. Okay? We know that the project managers spend 70 to 90% of the time communicating. Yes, that's true. But for economies of scale, to keep it consistent, I have made every process in the different process groups equal. That is not exactly how it's going to be on every single exam, but it gives us a baseline to see the importance of the knowledge areas. Because let's get real, when you go to the PMP exam content outline, which I'm going to pull up here, go to the outline. When you pull up the outline and you examine the breakdown on the exam, take a look. Let's examine. There we go. Okay. So when you examine this document, the PMP exam content outline, This is the representation, my friends. That's it. That's where I'm getting these numbers from. Splitting them straight down the middle, finding the average, and that's what I'm representing to you. It's a good baseline. You see, the exam is broken down by these process groups, but you know that the PMBOK guide is not written by process group. So in order to get a well-rounded picture, you need to know what I'm showing you here. You need to understand what your friend Phil is trying to show you. I'm trying to show you the importance of the knowledge areas that we often forget. Most times people just fly into schedule and cost and risk, but those are not the heavyweights. The heavyweights, if you add everything up in this section I'm showing you, this outweighs the more technical stuff, if you will. So that's that for communications. But let's examine in further detail what exactly happens in communications. So if we put communications down here and replace these numbers with actual process names, what you have here is plan communications management, manage communications, my favorite, and monitor communications. Let's just say MonC. All right. So why do I find managed communication so cool? Because that is where you as the project manager are actually communicating. That's where you're doing the communicating. That's where you are conversing, sharing information, speaking to people, all that stuff. Now, there's a lot of run up to doing that. And that's why we cannot just blindly focus on giving communication 70% of the weight on the PMP exam. No. In order to communicate effectively, you have to plan. You have to get all your docs, project documents in a row before you communicate, before you send them out. So if you take a look at this, plan communications management, the importance of it, understanding things like your communication methods, communication technology, why you would use certain technology over another, things such as that. Tiny little details people miss. Manage communications, understanding the essence of what you're doing here. It's not just sending out reports. This is where you are standing up from behind the desk and communicating with one thing in mind. You're communicating to fulfill the promise, to meet those expectations defined in plan communications management. See? And then monitor communications. What are we doing in monitor communications? You are checking to make sure your plan is actually working and to make sure that what you're doing is actually meeting the stakeholders' needs. And there's a lot of minutia regarding the tools and techniques again. There's a lot of soft stuff to be talked about. There is a lot of information. A lot of information. All right. So with that said, let us go back to our map of next week. Procurement is next. So procurement management, when you boil it down, you got planned procurement management, 1%, right? You've got conduct procurements, 3.1, and you've got control procurements, 2.1. And I think there's been a little error here. Let us adjust that formula. You wish communications. You wish you were that big. Nah. All right. So it's a mirror image for procurement as it is for communications, roughly 6.5%. Okay. Now let's take this one more time. Let's go to a map of the world, put that in, and let's replace this. So the first process This may shock you, but this process, as small as it is, it has the largest number by far compared to the others, the largest number of new, or should I say unique, outputs. No other process has as many unique outputs as plan, procurement, management. Seriously. Seven unique outputs. What? And it's 1% in economies of scale. You see why you need to know the tricks so that you cover everything and are well-rounded. So plan, procurement, management, this process is a beast, but its bang for your buck may not be as much as you would have liked. Think about it. Think about it for a second. All the processes in the PMBOK guide, how many are there? 49. Let's round them up to 50. If you got 4 questions from every process, just 4, you'd clock 200 questions. So when you take a look at a process like this that has 7 unique outputs, how do you even study without guidance from someone like your buddy Phil? You'll be all over the place. But I'm going to help direct your focus to the big ticket items and ideas. That's why you need to come for this training. You see, even if you miss the first one with all the technical scope, schedule, cost, risk, this is bigger than that. This comes to almost 63% of your PMP exam. That's why I'm telling you to join. You know, the saying prevention is better than cure holds true. Those friends of mine who said, Phil, yeah, I went to a ridiculous boot camp my company put together. I didn't even learn a thing. All right, so what are you doing to correct that? I don't know. Phil, I'm maxed out. I don't have any more budget. But you got budget to pay the PM&I to take the exam for the 3rd or 4th time, but you don't have insurance. That's really what it is. You're insuring your asset of paying for that next exam by coming to play with your buddy Phil in the PMBOK guide. That's what you're doing. So when people say, oh, I'm maxed out, but you still got the 555 to pay the PM&I, that makes sense. You better come to the boot camp. You know, lots of folks email me around the clock. Phil, I've taken the exam twice. I don't have any more money to go for another boot camp. $200? Okay. How about just sign up for one of those cheaper curriculums on Praizion.com to just help yourself? You got to stop saying you don't have money and then you're forking out 555 to the PMI. Then you become a member. Then you fork out a 405. Come on now. You can't keep doing that. How many $555 bills have you got? That's why you need to come to training that can truly help you. If you went to ridiculous training, fine, it's gone. Let the past be the past. But you need to change something by coming for this next training. All right. So you might be watching this way beyond March, April, May, maybe even December. Check out pmsucceed.com and sign up for the next boot camp or the next tech camp. You know, because we have 1-day boot camps, we have 5-day boot camps. Sometimes we do 4 days, 3 days, you know, to help students, to help you. Okay. So go to pmsucceed.com, check out what we've got. It's just true talk, folks, because you know people keep paying, shelling out that 555. I feel sorry for them. You know, some people 7 or 8 times. Goodness, that's almost a mortgage down payment. You know what I mean? Seriously. All right. So the next process in procurement is conduct procurements. Again, this is another massive one that has all sorts of tentacles. Do you know the amount of things you do in conduct procurements? let's say, what don't you do in conduct procurements? Is there anything that we don't do? We get our bid documents from the previous process. We advertise the procurement. We have bidder conferences too. We discuss with the prospective sellers, answer questions, 3. We get our proposals back from them, or their proposals from them, 4. We negotiate, 5. We go back and forth for months and weeks, maybe, 6. You see how it's all stacking up? And then we sign an agreement, hopefully, 7. Many moving parts. That is why you really have to do a thorough job for every process. There's no process that you should say, oh, yeah, it's not a big deal. That's a cheapie. If you get so many processes stacking up like that are 1%, 2.5%, or 2.1%, 3.1%, it all adds up. And that's why you need to be sensitized to this. Enough said. Last but not least, we have control procurements. And in control procurements, again, because we have closed procurements from here, there are many things, I'm not even going to go into them, that happen in control procurements. But if I were to add them up, there'll probably be at least 5 unique things that happen. You see, it's not so much about the ITTOs, no. The exam question writers can write questions that have no ITTO dilution and just focus on process. And if you haven't received a well-rounded idea of the process, it's like being on the chopping block. I'm just being honest. People don't want to tell the truth about this exam, but I'm always trying to help you by giving you a clear idea. You know, and some of my students come out of the test and say, Phil, you almost scared me to death. Well, I'm glad I listened to you because you gave me a realistic view of how important this all was. It paid off. Like we heard from Krishnan today. Balls, 5 above targets. Krishnan was in all of the tech camps last week, Monday to Friday, asking questions. He was a very engaged student. But Krishnan, I had no idea you were planning on taking it today, but I'm really excited for you. So that's procurement, my friends. We've taken a look at 5 of these, or 4 of these, I beg your pardon, processes and the relevance of each. At this point, I would like to answer any questions if you have. So Angel, I appreciate you staying on the call. Tell me, do you have any questions or do you have any aha moments based on your recent experience? So for those of you just joining, Angel is one of our students. He's on the webinar, okay, because we're streaming this. And we've got a webinar going as well. Angel had an experience on the exam, paper-based exam, and I'm looking forward to him getting his result and acing the test. So, Angel, any comments or concerns that you would like me to address for you? Awesome, Angel, go for it. Angel wants to give you some advice. Whenever you get someone who's taking the exam, you need to listen up. You need to listen. Listen to what Angel has to say. Okay. So those of you on YouTube, I hope you're listening. So Angel is going to shoot me some advice. Angel says, make sure you know your earned value management formulas. And make sure you know integrated change control. That is very friendly advice. Thank you very much, Angel. And absolutely, I've heard this from quite a number of students about the change management. Change management is so important. In fact, before you guys hop off, I should probably point you towards some of my other videos. Adanet, thank you for joining. Do you have any questions, Adanet, that I can answer for you? Any questions or concerns? Because that's why I'm here. I would love to answer those, but take note. I'm just going to copy. And Angel says, yeah, you better know everything about the project charter. You see, a lot of what he's telling you, it hinges towards what I'm telling you to do. Integration, big, very big. So Adanet and anyone else who may be on the call at this time, I know some folks had to hop off, but if you got any questions, I would love to answer them. I'm going to have one more session. That'll be later on. I'll come back and I'll talk about the final knowledge area, which is stakeholder. So Danette, do you have any questions, or anyone else who may be on the YouTube? Any concerns, anything I can answer for you? Okay, I think Adnet may have hopped off the call. So I'm just going to say a big thank you to all those folks who were able to join. Angel, thank you very much. I'm going to be back later on, but I'm going to take a little break. And when I come back, we will continue with stakeholder. But I really wish you all the best, okay? Angel, I'm looking forward to hearing some good news. And let me know when the paper-based exam result comes out, okay? All right, well, thank you. Again, I will be back maybe in the next hour or so, and I'll be addressing stakeholder, okay? Bye for now, everyone.